let's call this my take on visual arts and why you should learn as many as possible. So, I'm like really, really into art, and I've tried to learn as many categories, or at least do as many of them as I possibly could in the meantime. So, I thought I'm gonna share it. Maybe some of you have noticed similar things, or if not, maybe I'll convince you to do more stuff than you're doing right now. So, all visual arts are connected. I know, sounds pretty straightforward, but they are connected in the ways I cannot comprehend. Like, I don't understand how this works. For instance, I remember when I started like sculpting. That helped me a lot with drawing and photography, which I was really, really surprised about, but I had no idea how the fuck these two helped me with that one. Similarly, with photography, like I started doing digital shit because I'm a fucking zillennial. So I had like, digital shit already when I was young. So my first camera was digital, but then I went to art high school and there we had film developing. Like you had to shoot, develop the film and develop the pictures yourself. And I was like 16 at the time and I got really into it. I liked this shit. And I was like, okay, I can just do this to make it more contrasty. I can even like put some see-through like material on top and have like interesting results. I could just basically place anything and it will copy the shape of it. I was fascinated with that and I started playing with it and trying to apply some contrasts to my picture, trying to erase some stuff, like the Photoshop from 100 years ago, some shit like this. So it was really, really interesting to me that you could do that. And then I grabbed my regular digital camera, and you know what? Suddenly I understood it like 1,000 times better. And then I got into like Photoshop and I just looked at some of the tools in Photoshop, which I use still this day. But the tools are supposed to like mimic some of the things you do in a darkroom, which is fascinating because the most profound and the best tools that Photoshop has to offer, or like Lightroom has to offer, sometimes just feel like a cheap copy in comparison to what you're doing in a darkroom, which is crazy. And the fact that the film is basically like a vector graphic, like if you take a picture with a digital and you zoom into it like really, really close, you'll start seeing squares everywhere. But when you have like a vector graphic, you can zoom onto it infinitely. Nothing will like change. The shape will still be smooth. There will be no squares everywhere. And film kind of works like that. It's amazing that if you have like large or medium formats, it blows out of the water all digital we have. Maybe besides like some Hasselblads for like a lot of money, but besides that, nothing digital can just compare it. That's why there are some movies that came out in the 70s and now they are like coming out in 8K because you can literally scan it. I think it will take some time until we get digitally to the point where just bunch of chemicals and silver can achieve. Like it's really, really amazing. And if you think that is like complicated, well, it is it is, but for me, photography is kind of too easy. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a fucking I don't know who, but it's just how I feel about photography. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I do it, and when I have a chance, I do it on film because I still prefer that from digital. But I don't know. It's kind of like boring overall. Although I have a deep passion for photography, so although it might not sound like I do, but well, it is the easiest from the things I like do genuinely, because pictures even on film are like almost instant in comparison to, for example, painting, which I also really, really like. I think painting is like my favorite thing to do because I like to paint like 3 paintings at once because I paint with oil, and oil sometimes just dries for ages. Like it can dry for like 3-4 weeks sometimes, depending on how thick it is. And sometimes you cannot paint because you want to put a new color, but you don't want to mix it with what's underneath. So you have to wait. And I like it that I can just jump to another painting, do the same thing, and then go to the third one. And by the time I'm finished with the third one, the first one is dry. If all of them need a little bit more drying, then I don't know. I just grab a pencil and just draw, because drawing is also something I like to do. Like, especially if you do like to draw as well, I highly recommend you to just take the sketchbook with you and just go on a walk like 3 hours, find the perfect fucking spot, draw something, and then just walk away. Because walking and drawing, this combo is amazing. And drawing, you can do that with literally anything. You can draw on paintings too. And also, you have plenty of different paints that look completely different, can give different vibes, give different results. Sometimes you can mix them with each other. You can do lots of things within like this painting space, but it also takes time, right? And I think it's beautiful because I don't know, I'm fucking patient. That's why I like this shit. But the painting and photography, come on, like photography, all the like basic rules in photography are just like stolen from painting. Because at first, a bunch of painters were doing photography and they were like establishing some rules, like rules of composition, same as in painting. This bracket square thingy, both here and here applies. Important like things in the composition were first used in painting. And it's good because like you know how it works from one side, then you instantly know how it works from the other side. So I don't know, maybe that's why I like photography a lot, because it reminds me of painting. But we have also other different visual arts, like sculpture, for example. Sculpting is also quite wide thing to do, because like you can basically sculpt with wood, stone, clay, like technical clay, there's Play-Doh, whatever. Like, if it will hold the shape, you can sculpt out of it, like soap or potato. Go get a knife and just make yourself a little sculpture. Just don't cut yourself. And about that, the tools can also differ from your fingers to weird looking sticks, all the way to like really sharp objects like wood saw. It's quite dangerous to use, but quite efficient if you like just creating something big from like big chunk of wood. It's perfect. Also, these things are so sharp. Like every time I do that on wood, I'm like so surprised of how sharp it is. Like it's so impossibly sharp usually that my mind just cannot like process this. But it's so satisfying to do, and I get why a lot of people do that in wood. Yeah, and within sculpting, I guess you could say 3D is kind of sculpting. And you know what I like about 3D sculpting? First of all, you can sculpt anything. You cannot run out of material. And my absolute favorite thing about it, you can turn it into any material and you can break laws of physics. Like literally, no one cares because the physics don't work. I mean, if you turn on the physics, they will work, but otherwise, no physics for ya. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And with sculpture, you cannot. But I also prefer like real. I don't know how to put it. I mean, the 3D thing is real, but you know what I mean. Like, I like to play with materials. I like to touch stuff that didn't came out right. But you know what I mean. I prefer to look like a fucking silent toddler.
Does it feel good?
Than have possibility of Control Z. Like, this is more fun to me. And now I'm an adult. No one will like scream at me for looking like that and being covered in paint all the time, which is awesome. Come on. I get to be a kid that has no supervision. That sounds like a dream. And mentioned 3D. Also, I have to mention the general graphic design. I'm also into it. I even made like some AI tutorials with Adobe and shit. But I work in all of the Adobe suite and some like Blender, called 3D. So I know my shit in computer wise as well. I like digital creation, and I also like use Photoshop and Illustrator and tools like that sometimes to design some paintings or like design some drawings or combine or test ideas. Or I sometimes work like as a graphic designer and I can just design a logo or like do photo shoot and then edit the photos. You know, it's lots and lots of things and they are all connected in unexpected ways. Like how the hell I mean, I think the sculpting thing helps you think in like spatially. So when you take pictures, you're more aware of like space within the frame, and that what helped me. But I don't know, maybe you'll find like a different path or like a different way of connecting the dots or something like that. But I strongly encourage you to try to do as many things as you possibly can. Why? Because it's fucking awesome. And if you want to be good at one thing, the other thing might just help you in the most random way. Just look up any famous artists. They didn't do like one thing. Every single one of them did some other things. Either being like a writer, sculptor, painter, or whatever, in addition to like knowing the stuff. Like, I don't know, Picasso was doing ceramics and sculpture as well because he loved form. And that's the thing. Find the thing you love in visual arts, just follow it and try to do that in as many categories as you possibly can. Yeah, you can like the video. If you have something to add to what I said, type that down in the comments. And yeah, you can subscribe. It's fucking free. And I will make some more art videos. So yeah, over.